The following is a presentation of the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, and real since 1998.
Good evening and welcome to Sudden Impact Radio right here on Blog Talk Radio. My name is the man they call Meathead. Even though technically my name is Meathead, I'm the guy that they call Meathead. So others call me Meathead, if that makes sense to you. Anyway, thank you for joining the program. Good to have you here. If you want to join the program tonight, the number to call in, area code 347-996-5278. That's area code 347-996-5278. 5278. Also, hit us up in Twitter and Facebook. Twitter using the hashtag Sudden Impact. You can get your tweets read on the air. We are watching Impact Live right now as Bobby Roode looks like he's about to put him in a perfect plex, but a roll-up from AJ. 1, 2, 3. AJ Styles, the number one contender, has pinned the champion, as you do every time before a pay-per-view. You make sure that the guy that's not supposed to win gets a pinfall victory to make it more credible. But as you know already, if you win before the pay-per-view, you're probably not going to win at the pay-per-view. AJ Styles getting the pinfall victory in the tag match with AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy taking on Bobby Roode and Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett and Jeff Hardy getting into a melee after AJ's Pele going into the back, and Hardy suffering from the Karen Jarrett, very vital, very vicious rake of the back. We're going to run down Impact tonight. We're also going to talk about the pay-per-view coming up this Sunday, Final Resolution from TNA. I don't know how special it's going to be. Again, you've heard Damian say, over the last few months and last few years, if it's a pay-per-view that's in the Impact Zone, it just doesn't have that special feel to it, kind of like Bound for Glory does, kind of like some of the other pay-per-views do when they're not in the Impact Zone. So pay-per-view live this Sunday, Final Resolution. It's got a great lineup. It's got some great matches. They're building some amazing stories, but I don't know if it'll have that feel because, again, the crowd ends up being half of amusement park crowd, and it ends up being half wrestling fans that are there every week. So who knows? But anyways, we're going to run down the show tonight, and then later on in the program we'll talk about the Chattosphere. We'll also talk about the Twitter and Facebook as well. And, again, if you want to hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag Sudden Impact, we'll try to read your tweets on the air. But let's first talk about the Pro Wrestling Report coming up this weekend, Saturday night. Locally here in the Milwaukee area, you'll be able to see the Pro Wrestling Report primetime on My 24 directly after Ring of Honor. Also available on the site. Head on over to the brand new PWRshow.com, and you can get the episodes before anybody else sees them, before they air locally here in the Milwaukee market. You'll be able to check those out. So anyways, talking about Impact tonight, first off, the show starts off with the Stinger coming on down, and Dixie Carter and Bobby Roode also make their way out. Stinger calling out Bobby, said he wants an apology from Bobby Roode, the way he's been talking about Dixie Carter. He hasn't been a gentleman. He hasn't been a man's man. He's been saying some pretty nasty and rotten things about Dixie that, been kind of rude, if you will, pun intended, of course. So when he calls him out and, Sting asks for the apology, Bobby Roode basically implies, insists that Dixie has no idea what she's doing. She couldn't run a lemonade stand, let alone a wrestling company, and she's daddy's little rich girl that never had to earn anything in her life. So, people have said that about Dixie. Not that Dixie's not doing what she should do to run a wrestling company. As a matter of fact, if you've been reading the news, Dixie just inked a new deal for the European audience to keep on watching TNA Impact over there for, I believe it was the next 5 years. So, Dixie's out there doing business. She's getting work done. But, for Impact's sake, we've got Dixie Carter, kind of being punked on camera, and Robert Roode looking like the amazing heel champion that he is. So, very, very impressed with what Robert Roode's been doing. Again, I'm not sitting here. I'm not Robert Roode's, manager. I'm not trying to promote Robert Roode, trying to, get him work, but Robert Roode has looked fantastic as a champion. He is really selling it. Matter of fact, I think he's got WWE championship quality. Not that we're trying to rate the companies back and forth, but I could find him a believable champion also in the WWE doing this exact same character, these exact same lines, these words, all of it. I find him to be very credible and believable too. So again, another fresh champion, over the last how many weeks, and it's believable. I'm invested in it. I like Bobby Roode as a heel champion. And when he wrestles AJ this Sunday in the 30-minute Iron Man match, I see him going over and keeping the belt. Now, AJ's going to put on a great show. AJ's a phenomenal wrestler, again, pun intended, but you got to keep the steam going with Bobby Roode, and we'll see Be the Booker also from David Hero. He's going to book the pay-per-view and how he would book it this week on Primetime, and also available on this website as well. But I guarantee you, David Hero will say that you keep the belt on Bobby Roode and you keep the steam going with him as well. So, anyways, after that segment, we had a match between Abyss and Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe, where have you been? And again, looking as violent as ever. Unfortunately, Abyss winning against Samoa Joe, even though I like Abyss. Don't get me wrong. He's this incredible monster now that apparently got up after he got put through a table. That's the big deal. They keep selling this over and over. Bully Ray keeps selling this over and over. And by the way, where did the steam from Bully Ray go? It just seems like it disappeared. I thought Bully Ray was literally on his way to being a number one contender, to being a heavyweight championship type guy. And it just seems like it's fallen off a little bit. But Bully Ray definitely is still credible. He's still got it there. But Abyss hit the Black Hole Slam on Steiner after Bully Ray ran away. So Abyss, a face, and again, kind of just, I won't say there, but at least Abyss is on TV. Unlike some of our other friends that don't seem to be making any camera time and aren't on the pay-per-view. But that's another story, another point, to bring up. Also, there was a promo between Devon and the Pope, who are the number one contenders for the tag team championships, and the current tag team champions, Crimson and Matt Morgan. Again, I like the team. I like the fact that they made a new team in Pope and Devon as well. Now, I know I complained about it for a few weeks in a row about why do they have to have the boys come out. Devon loses the match because of his sons, blah, 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 the same gimmick over and over. Well, you know what? They let it go for a while, and as soon as they let it go, here comes the boys. The boys are back and involved again. During this promo, all four members of the tag team started brawling. Why Devon's kids came in the ring and helped the Pope stomp on Morgan, it's interesting, don't get me wrong, because here you have, it's a different way of booking it, I guess. You have a face tag team of guys that, just decided to be a tag team one day and became the champions. Then the other tag team you have has one face and, quote-unquote, one heel, with the face's kids being heels as well. So I guess there's enough mix of good and bad, heel and face, whatever you want to call it. But it's a new way of going about it. It's a little confusing. If you're not paying attention to it, you may lose track. But I don't mind it right now. I want to see all four get in the ring. I want to see Devon Pope, wrestling Crimson and Matt Morgan. Again, Crimson and Matt Morgan, I think, should keep the belts and should really become a dominant force. I think they can definitely, go places with the powerhouse tag team type gimmick that they got going on. So, who knows? We're going to talk more about Impact when we come back. You're listening to Sudden Impact Radio right here on Blog Talk Radio.
Tired of all the lies, rumors, and assumptions in wrestling news? So are we. Join us each week for the Pro Wrestling Report on ESPN Radio for the latest news and views on pro wrestling. Visit us at pwrshow.com to check the latest schedule.
Sudden Impact Radio right here on Blog Talk Radio. I'm the man they call Meathead. Again, if you want to talk live on the show with me, the number to call in is 347-996-5278, area code 347-996-5278. By the way, thank you to everybody that I got the chance to talk to and got the chance to meet, and thank you to everybody that came out to Blizzard Brawl 7 this last weekend out in Waukesha at the County Expo Center. As you saw David Hero tweet, well over 1,400 Super Friends showed up to the building. We actually had them packed up in the rafters as well, and this isn't a WCW thing where I said we've got a capacity crowd. It literally was a capacity crowd with an amazing card and amazing matches all night long. So, again, thank you, Dave, for having all of us, and thank you guys for coming out and checking out the show. Hey, we're going to take a call real quick from 269, area code 269. Go ahead. You are live and on Sudden Impact Radio. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, this is David calling from the True Mitten State of Michigan.
The True Man State of Michigan?
Mitten.
Oh, okay. The True Mitten State. Okay, what's up?
I don't know if you caught that. Milwaukee trying to use a mitten as well.
No, that's okay. It was a pun that just kind of went over my head. But I'm glad to have you here. What's going on?
Impact was good tonight. I would have preferred to see the tag team guys actually have a tag match, but oh well. They built
some heat though.
But,
I was going to say they built some heat in that tag, the tag match. They built heat.
I would like
in
to wrestle actually though, even one-on-one like they used to do. Have each of them wrestle each other one-on-one, only the guy in the corner.
Sure, and we could do that next month for the build-up to the tag team match. Why you don't want to do it every month? So this time we'll do a promo.
But the problems I did have with Impact tonight was, okay, where was Ken Anderson? Where was Robbie E? Where was Austin Aries? I mean, for the last couple weeks you had been building up Robbie and Big Robbie and Little Robbie. And he had a match with RVD last week and won, and then
Kid Cash?
Yeah, and Kid Cash and Austin Aries, they built up something last week. I mean, it's just like continuous DNA. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe they just didn't have enough show for him.
Well, there's a rumor about Rob Van Dam, but I don't know if that's all true or not.
Well, yeah, we don't do too much in rumors, but Bob Van Dam was supposed to be at the pay-per-view against Christopher Daniels, so we'll see.
Yeah. Sure, I forgot all about that storyline.
Mm-hmm. Well, you saw the promo tonight from Christopher Daniels mentioning that Bob Van Dam was going to be his opponent, and they're going to have a nice grappling match.
Oh, yeah, that's right. See, I honestly don't care about that match. I mean, I could care less about Bob Van Dam versus Christopher Daniels. To me, it doesn't really have the
see it opening in the pay-per-view. I could see it open the pay-per-view. I could see that or the X Division match.
I'm not saying it won't be a good match or not, but it's just not a match I'm really looking forward to seeing. Like, I think the big match, a lot of people, maybe not a lot of people, maybe just me, but I want to see Jeff Jarrett versus Jeff Hardy in the cage match.
I think so, too.
A good match.
I think it was I think the main event tonight was a fantastic way. You mentioned you'd like to see tag team matches or singles matches between the tag team competitors. Here's what they did instead. They gave you the main event and put the two main events in the main event of the Impact, but the two pay-per-view main events. Excuse me.
That's classic
Jeff Jarrett and Jeff Hardy.
Wrestling right there, though.
Yeah, Jeff Jarrett and Jeff Hardy versus, in the ring, also with Bobby Roode and AJ Styles, so faces versus heels. And then, at the end of the match, as per, textbook, they separate. You see the two matches go against each other.
It just shows you with tag team wrestling that the tag champions aren't even the best tag team. Well, obviously, tag teams they got right now, Roode and Jarrett look great as a tag team out there tonight.
Mm-hmm. They won't stay together as a team, but it was a good tag team.
Yeah, it was just a good tag team. It's just like, that's what the tag did. They're focusing more on the knockout division. Like, really, they really got a big part of the show tonight. Which is good to see the knockouts, not complaining, but I just think they could have focused, instead of having Gail Kim versus Tracy Brooks, which I don't really know if they really needed that.
But it had a good feel to it because
it did. But they really could have done that during the Mickey James match as well and jumped her like that.
Not at all. It had a great feel to it. Hold on. It had a great feel.
Like Austin Aries in that match or something like that, or Robbie E.
Hold on. Here's what they did. They gave Tracy some relevance now. Tracy is now, you see this pent up and built up frustration. You could see it holding all her frustration in her top, and it was ready to burst out.
Yeah, but they couldn't have done the same. She couldn't have came out and made a save for Mickie James if they did something like that. Like, they say they heard a match over to jump Mickie James during that match. They could have done the same exact thing right there. And still had another spot for some other talent to be on the show. Even Ken Anderson. I mean...
But Ken Anderson's not even booked for the pay-per-view. So, again, I miss Ken Anderson on TV. Ken Anderson's not booked for the pay-per-view, but I missed him, being on TV tonight. But he's not booked for the pay-per-view. So why would you put him on the show before the pay-per-view?
Okay, fine. Put Austin Aries, I guess Austin Aries over that, or even Rob Van Dam and Daniels. Sure. But, I mean, I'm just saying, I enjoyed the show tonight. It was more wrestling again this week, which I liked the 9-minute segment of, talking at the beginning of the show. I liked that. 9 minutes, that was fine. Instead of 20 minutes that you get on Mondays.
Right, exactly. So, all right, well, let's wrap it up here. And obviously, like I do every week, give me pass or fail. I'm assuming pass because you said you enjoyed the program.
Yeah, it was a good show. Just they could have done some more with it. But, yeah, enjoyed the show. Love this show. So
fair enough. Thank you. Appreciate it. Sorry I didn't get your pun, but you can always call in.
I love the show and love this show.
Perfect.
It's a tremendous show.
See, I don't talk in hashtags, so I talk in meatheadisms. All right, well, I appreciate you calling in. Always can call in next week, and thank you for calling in. Have a good night.
Yep, you too.
All right, so we're going to talk a little bit more. And by the way, I know I made a bit of a joke about Tracy's pent-up frustration. She's kind of holding it all on her chest. Is it just me, or are you guys looking at that going, that zipper cannot be holding all that in there? Maybe it's just me, but I felt like it was going to pop. Maybe it was an editing job. I don't know. And no pun intended here, but are you guys watching? Excuse me. Are you guys watching Mansers afterwards? It is so difficult to do this program while they're running promos for Mansers and running the show. I've got it on mute, and I cannot have Mansers going on in the background while I'm doing this program. A little difficult, especially when they had a section about lesbians. I digress. It's a little difficult. I didn't want to say hard, but it is a little difficult to watch the program while Mansers is going on in the background. Hey, we're going to take a break. This is our final one of the night, but when we come back, we'll talk about the Twitter page, talk about the Chatosphere, which is blown up, and we'll also talk about the Facebook page. You're listening to Sudden Impact Radio right here on Blog Talk Radio.
Tired of all the lies, rumors, and assumptions in wrestling news? So are we. Join us each week for the Pro Wrestling Report on ESPN Radio for the latest news and views on pro wrestling. Visit us at pwrshow.com to check the latest schedule.
Sudden Impact Radio right here on Blog Talk Radio. I'm the man they call Meathead. Thank you again for joining us tonight. If you want to get your comments mentioned on the show, you still got a few minutes left using the hashtag Sudden Impact. You can hit us up on the Twitter page. Also, don't forget, I am on Twitter as well, at WCW Meathead. You can also make sure you hit me up at Facebook, the man they call Meathead page as well. I don't use people on my personal page, so if you have tried sending stuff to my personal name, I'm going to reject it. Nothing personal. I try to keep the two separate, that's all. So if you want to interact with me on Facebook, make sure you're using the man they call Meathead at Facebook. Also, you'll see the picture on there. The page was actually created by one of our fans, Justin, about a year and a half ago, and he set up the page, and he just wanted to make sure there was a page just for Meathead and not for, the Pro Wrestling Report. So I use that page now as a personal page to interact with you guys, and then I have my family and friends page, which is a little bit separate. Like I said, I don't allow anybody else on there except for family, friends. So Facebook, the man they call Meathead, Twitter, WCW Meathead if you want to interact with me. Chatosphere, let's talk about the Chatosphere. NJ Brock, 22, apparently is talking about Velvet's knee facebuster. Now, I don't like calling out wrestling spots where, they miss a little bit or they, decide to give a little bit of room. Apparently, NJ Brock 22 says you can see the foot-wide gap between her knee and their face. Now, that's not the wrestler, that's not the performer's issue that they leave that big a gap. It's editing. I can understand if it's live and they went to the wrong camera angle at the wrong time, they still have a 7 to 10 sec gap in there. This show was taped, about a week ago? Maybe 2 weeks ago? You can edit that kind of stuff. You can give a crowd shot, you can give a whatever shot. You got to understand, people are watching for these things, and it doesn't help you to look like a number one company, like a company you want to be, if you're not editing the program. Especially, you know what really kind of bothered me? During the main event, listening to Taz's commentary, and this isn't me picking on Taz, but listening to the main event commentary, Taz, after they came back from commercial, says, for those of you that just joined us, Taz, it's the main event. The problem is you're right. So many people are just tuning in now and haven't been watching your program all night. They just clicked over, popped in. The problem is your company didn't hold any viewers. They're not holding viewers from beginning to end. The problem is that your company has people that watch the show. Your company, the people that watch your show, fast forward through half of your show. They skip over segments. I mean, granted, we do it to WWE, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, all the programs. We skip over everything. We skip over football games, skip over the defense. But what are you doing to get us to watch from beginning to end without skipping over the program? That's another argument for another time where maybe, making the pay-per-view the Impact right before a pay-per-view, maybe live, or maybe the one right after the pay-per-view. Make it live so we don't know what's going to happen. Give us some surprises. I bet you could pop some ratings in there, especially if you were live from the Impact Zone. How much extra does it cost to do it live from the Impact Zone versus, say, doing taping out on the road? Somebody crunch those numbers for me. The difference between going out to the road but taping TV matches or doing it live from the Impact Zone where you're in a live television studio. But that's just me. So, anywho, we're going to go to Twitter now. We're going to read, again, if you want to have your comments read on the show when you're using Twitter, make sure you're using hashtag #SetAnImpact. Weekly favorite Aaron BSC has put out a few of them. We're just going to read a couple of them here. First off, he says that obviously Bobby Roode playing the heel role tremendously again. I don't speak in hashtags. That's David Hero's gimmick. And by the way, saw out on Saturday night, Sal Perez, one of our many fans that we have at the Pro Wrestling Report, gimmick infringement, talking in hashtags. Again, David Hero not happy that you're talking in gimmick infringement. Also, Aaron did point out as well, Aaron Thomas, that is, that the TNA holiday commercials. By the way, I do love their holiday commercials. Getting the girls in holiday music, wearing all the gimmicks and all the merchandise that could be sold, scantily clad, of course, was a great idea. Now, their direct-to-auto commercials that they have, you can ask David Hero how he feels about that, and the champ, making it look like he didn't pay his bill or he forgot to pay his insurance and he's behind on his bills. That's another story altogether. But I do think that the TNA holiday commercials got a nice taste to them. I do slow, if I'm scanning through a show or if I'm going back to watch stuff, I do stop to watch those commercials again. So you've got my attention. You've got my attention, TNA. I'm glad to see that you're doing something that maybe is catching everybody else's eye as well. Let's get back to Impact real quick before we end the program here. Mickie James did beat Madison Rayne with, just, I guess, a nod to Gail Kim, say, hey, I'm still a top singles wrestler, and I just beat your tag team champion, female tag team champion partner. So Mickie James still looking strong. Garrett Bischoff did beat Gunner, but Gunner and Bischoff attacked him after the match and laid him on the floor. The trainers came out and checked on Garrett, and they took him away in a stretcher. Another thing that bothered me is, and this is about continuity in a program, if he's laid out, if he's in a stretcher, if everything's okay, why are you letting Flair and Bischoff, Eric that is, lay chops on him while he's on the stretcher. Why isn't there somebody there to stop him? It doesn't. I mean, I understand that's what a heel does. But why isn't somebody there to stop him? And if he's in that dire need, where's the EMTs to say, hey, come on, man, he's dying? But if you watched, once they put him in the ambulance, there's somebody doing compression on him, like they're trying to resuscitate the guy or something. It didn't make any sense, and it kind of made me laugh. And the other thing that I thought was real sad about that is, for those of you WCW fans that can go back to Fire Me, I'm Already Fired with Ric Flair, how hard is that got to be for Ric Flair to keep telling Eric Bischoff he loves him, hugs him, and kisses him all the time? The fact that Eric Bischoff is working alongside Ric Flair, and Ric Flair has to basically suck up to Eric Bischoff consistently. It's a sad state of affairs, but we know how Ric's money's been going lately. So Ric has to do it to have a job. It's what he's got to do to stay on TV, to stay on camera. It is what it is. The Cowboy James Storm's calling out Kurt Angle. They cut a fantastic promo, and they're going to put on a hell of a match Sunday at the pay-per-view. I think it's going to be a great match. Now, Tracy in the ring, we talked about this a little bit before. I like Tracy being there. I like Tracy getting that segment. I know we missed Ken Anderson. I know we didn't get any Austin Aries. But I like Tracy being out there, and I like Tracy beating on Gail, and I like Tracy beating on Karen Jarrett as well. I thought it was fantastic. So I think it's a great way to maybe introduce Tracy back into wrestling again. And in the main event, Styles and Hardy, they beat up on Jeff Jarrett and Bobby Roode. You get the top two main events competing with each other in a tag match. They split off at the end. Fantastic move. Hey, pay-per-view this Sunday. Make sure you're checking us out, the post-show. We're going to do a pay-per-view wrap-up. A great match. I believe Jeff Jarrett, the Jimmy John's champion, versus Jeff Hardy, with Karen Jarrett handcuffed to Sting at ringside in a cage. Hardy wins, number one contender. Jarrett wins, Hardy's out. AJ Styles and Bobby Roode, 30-minute Iron Man match. Also the Knockouts Championship, Mickie James versus Gail Kim. Matt Morgan and Crimson versus the Pope and Devon. A solid X Division title match. Austin Aries versus Kid Cash. Television titles on the line as well. Robbie E. with taking on Eric Young. Also Rob Van Dam, RVD, going to go one-on-one with Christopher Daniels. Lots of great things coming up this weekend as well. So make sure you're checking us out right after the pay-per-view for the Final Resolution post-show right here on Blog Talk Radio. Also, hit us up at pwrshow.com. Brandon Booker, David Hero. Make sure you're listening to us Monday night for the Pro Wrestling Report. I am the man they call Meathead. Thank you for joining me tonight right here on Blog Talk Radio. Good night, everybody.